It is that time of year again when every video in your YouTube feed is a prediction one, and rather than breaking the mold and doing something different, we're doing the 1 to 24, 24, 25 championship predictions. Why? Well, just look at my most popular video. So without further ado, let's get into the championship predictions for the 24-25 season, so we can all laugh at my horrible takes at the end of the season. So as for the relegation battle, I think there's 5, maybe 6 teams that most people will have down there. And so no order for now, I'm going to put them in there: Oxford, Blackburn, Derby, Plymouth, Pompey, and I think I'm going to chuck Watford in there as well. That is my bottom 6, and I did not think that I was going to put these bottom. I did not want to put these bottom, but I'm going to put Plymouth bottom. Last season, 21st place finish, 1 point off relegation, average 1.5 goals conceded per game, which was the 20th worst in the division, 1.3 scored per game. Morgan Whittaker, if they can keep hold of Whittaker, I think they could stay up, but it does look like he's probably going to leave, and he got 19 goals and 8 assists last season. Obviously, Wayne Rooney as a manager, criticised a lot. He was bad at Birmingham. I think he did okay at Derby given the circumstances. His tactics emphasised positional fluidity with players, particularly fullbacks and midfielders, shifting positions to optimise ball control. But I think the thing that's worrying most people, and probably Plymouth fans and worried Birmingham fans last season, is the lack of tactical flexibility and adaptability. And I think that's the reason why Plymouth will come unstuck. And I think that's the reason why they're going to finish bottom of the table. So in 23rd then, I think I'm going to go with Blackburn Rovers, another team that just narrowly avoided relegation last season, 19th place, 3 points off the drop. They were pretty bad defensively, conceded the 3rd most goals in the championship. And of course, they were, I think reliant is such an understatement. Without Sammy Smodics, they would have probably finished below Rotherham. I mean, he was so important, 27 goals, involved in well over half Blackburn's goals last season. And of course, he's heavily linked with Ipswich, and I highly doubt, I think he'll probably be there for the start of the season, but do not think he'll be there at the end of the transfer window, which ultimately will probably be the problem for Blackburn. Obviously, they will get a lot of money for him, and they can invest that back into the team, but a player like Sammy Smodics is going to be hard to replace. I do rate John Eustace as a manager. As for transfers, until recently it wasn't looking good, but they have made some recent signings. Gay, a striker, 26 years old, for 2 million, scored 11 goals in the Belgian First Division last season. I think he could be a good addition. So the final relegation spot, will it be Oxford, will it be Derby, will it be Portsmouth, or will it be Watford? I think pretty much everyone's got Oxford bottom of the table, right, or in the relegation zone. But I just feel like Derby gonna go down. I mean, obviously last season in League One, promoted in second, 92 points, best defence in the league. Warren, great guy, such a good League One manager, not a great Championship manager, as we've learned with Rotherham, and I think that theme's going to continue, unfortunately, for him. I don't think he'll last long with Derby. It's so weird how torn the fan base is over him. He's like the Scott Parker, who we'll get onto in a minute, the Scott Parker of League One and the Championship, and I think he'll probably get another relegation on his CV. Last season it was normally a 3-4-1-2, but his formations did vary a lot, and not a great pre-season so far either. Some disappointing results in there. Transfers have been decent so far. Abdul Adams, good signing, but probably need more. I'm having them just going down, and so staying up, Watford, Portsmouth and Oxford. I'm going to say Oxford is staying up by the skin of their teeth, just about. Last season obviously only got 72 points, 15 less than Derby, but I've put them higher than Derby this season. They were good attacking, not great defence, but I think that underdog mentality suits them. I think Des Buckingham's a good manager. I think he's an adaptable manager, and shown by how he improved Mark Harris last season by tweaking the tactics to suit him. I think he's an exciting young manager. He's tactically a key. Progression into the final third and attacking is his strengths. I think the transfers have been pretty good so far. There's been lots of them, but the loss of Josh Murphy to a team we're going to get onto in just a second is bad, because not only has that weakened them, but it's strengthened one of their relegation rivals. Next, I've actually not got Portsmouth, my team. I've got Watford. Last season, 15th, only 4 wins from January onwards, 6 points above the drop. Kone's a huge loss, and I just think it's a weaker squad than last season, which they only stayed up by 6 points. I think they could be in serious relegation battle, and I think Cleverley's an inexperienced manager, and Watford do love to sack managers, don't they? So I don't think they'll hesitate to do so. He did do well at the end of last season, but just not sure he'll have what it takes to push on for a mid-table finish. Next, my beloved Portsmouth. Last season, obviously a brilliant season, first in League One, 97 points, a really strong season. We were kind of reliant on loans in Kamara and Robertson at points, and Colby being out is such a huge loss. Wishing all the best to him and his family. Really tough for him. He's going to be a massive loss. We have signed Sorensen, obviously Yengi, who's really good, but both of them unproven in the Championship. I think as kind of the season's approached closer and closer, the fan base has kind of just got a little bit more apprehensive. Lack of signings. I think we need to just trust in Richard Hughes and the team. Doubted him when he brought in Messino. Look what's happened now. We doubted him when we brought in, Sadie and Yengi, Shaughnessy. This is a top manager. And if you want to see more about him and his tactics and how we won the league, I've got a full video which you can watch after this one. But just quickly to kind of tell you about his tactics, it's slow, patient build-up play, emphasis on pressing and switching play and dominating possession, which obviously he'll have to adapt this season. Gonna have to have more of a transitional play. As for transfers, I spoke on Sorensen, got 26 goals and 15 assists in 33 games in the Danish second tier. Josh Murphy is a really good transfer, and if you want to see more on him, where I go through him and how he can fit into this team, I've got another video for that. You can watch that afterwards. Jordan Williams is a good signing. Jordan Archer, backup keeper, decent. Jacob Farrell's interesting. Ruben Swan and Sammy Silvera on loan. We do need probably like 3 or 5 more signings though. So next, in 18th place, I have gone for Stoke City. Where are they? There they are. Stoke City in 18th. Last season they finished in 17th. Another team 6 points off relegation because everyone was on 56 points in the mid-table. They didn't score enough, I don't think. I think Steven Schumacher is a solid manager, but maybe needs a season to kind of stabilise, and then they can push on from there. As for transfer, Sam Gallagher's a good Championship signing, but other than that, there's no real marquee signing you see in there. Then in our final spot in the relegation battle, I don't really think they'll be in a relegation battle, or really Stoke to be honest, but Preston. So I've got them dropping 7 places from their 10th spot last season. I think Ryan Lowe's a decent manager, but I don't think they can push for the playoffs. His system is reliant on wing backs, and I think they probably need better ones. They had a bad end to last season, lost all of their last 5 games. They ranked 23rd for XG. Losing Alan Brown is bad, especially on a free as well, and not much transfer activity. They've brought in Thordarson from Denmark, just under $1 million, can he replace Alan Brown? Probably not. Then moving into our mid-table spots, and to be honest, from 16th to like 10th, this could be any order. I've actually not got a clue, but this is the ones I've settled on. In 16th, I've got Cardiff. Last season they finished 12th, so I think they are going to drop off a little bit, and that's because they outperformed their XG a lot. They had the third worst XG in the division, and 1.5 goals conceded per match. I think Errol Bullitt had a good season, especially with the transfer embargo, and the transfers so far this season have been pretty good. Wilfried Kanga from Hertha Berlin, Callum Chambers on a freeze, really nice signing, El Ghazi as well, and Chris Willock from QPR. So I've got them finishing 6th, but again, this whole mid-table spot is a bit of a mess. Next I'm going to go for the other Welsh team, Swansea. So finishing in the exact same spot as they did last season. Pretty good attacking last season, but also pretty poor defensively last season. Their top scorer was Jamal Lowe, who's obviously left. Good transfers and a good overall squad, just not sure they can push on higher yet. As for their signings, Franco is an interesting one, and Lawrence Vigouroux hasn't played first team football in quite a while, so a questionable one, but Swansea in 15th. Then in 14th, I've got Hull, a drop of 7 positions for Tim Walter's men. And I think this is because it's going to be a shift in style, a shift in football, and a pretty new squad as well. So a transitional season for the Tigers is what I think is going to happen. Tim Walter spent the last 100 games at Schalke, failed to deliver promotion back to the top flight for them. And I think he's going to struggle to do the same with Hull. They've had some big losses in terms of transfers. Jacob Greaves and Jaden Philogene both leaving, but it does mean they have £37.5 million to spend. They've already brought in Ryan Giles to replace him. And this is an interesting stat I saw when I was looking. Their top 10 goal scorers from last season, from Jaden Philogene to Jacob Greaves, all the way down, have all gone, which is a pretty crazy statistic. And so yeah, I think a transitional season, something to build on for next season. Next, I'm going to put Millwall, so another team sticking with their position from last season. I think Neil Harris is a good manager, transformed them last season when he came in and got that stupid, playing out from the back, tiki-taka rubbish, brought in beautiful lump it forward football, and I mean it works. I think they've had some really promising signings so far as well. Tanganga's a solid player. Jensen was the best keeper in League One last season, and Macaulay Langstaff scored 71 goals in under 100 games for Notts County. It was in lower leagues, but still a good scorer. Next, I've got Queen's Park Rangers. Last season they were 18th, so I've got them jumping up a lot, and that is because of the brilliant Cifuentes. I think is the main reason why they are going to be so high. And to be honest, if they had a better squad, I think they could be pushing up for playoff contention. His fluid, attacking, possession-based football is really intriguing. As for transfers, they've lost some key players in Sinclair Armstrong and Chris Willock. They have brought in Zan Sela to try and replace them. Not a super inspiring signing, but he did get 21 goals for Lugano in Switzerland last season. Then into the playoff contention spot, I've got Bristol City. I'm not meant to do this, but another team who's in the same spot as they were last season. But I mean, Bristol City are always in the same spot as they were last season. Always mid-table. I think they will improve. I think maybe next season or the season after they will finally push for that playoff, but I don't think they're quite ready yet. They were good defensively last season. Only 3 teams conceded less, and a lack of goals should be sorted by the signings of Armstrong and Mayulu, let's go with that. Liam Manning is a solid manager. I think the Robins can have a really good season under him. Next, it is Sheffield Wednesday in 10th spot. Now, before I say anything, I do have a full, nearly 10-minute video talking about Sheffield Wednesday this season and if they can push for the playoffs. So watch that if you want to get more in depth. But just to summarise, 20th place last season, after Roll saved them from the absolutely dreadful situation Xisco Munoz put them in at the start of the season. He's transformed them through pressing and shifting tactics dependent on the opposition, and a great increase in attack, primarily through transitions. Some decent signings so far. Again, I talk more about this in the video, so I think they can massively push on, but I don't think they can make the playoffs due to the lack of depth in midfield. No proper striker, Mr. Chansiri, and the fact that Roll could be poached. Next, I have Sunderland climbing up from their disappointing 15th place season. I think it's a massive positive that Jack Clark, their top scorer last season, is still at the club. Labrie, their new manager, is unproven but has played a 4-2-3-1 and 4-3-3 in pre-season and has shown how he wants to play possession-based pressing football. Last season they were pretty good defensively, but they need to improve in terms of attack, and I think he can help. 1.2 goals conceded per game, 1.1 scored per game last season, so yeah, needs to improve. But I do not think they're quite ready for the playoffs. Some decent signings so far. Alan Brown from Preston is a good signing. Paveda from Leeds is pretty good. All on frees as well. So then, team that got into playoffs last season in 6th, but I don't think they're going to do it this season because I think they are going to have a more transitional season under Johannes Hoff Thorup. Thorup favoured a 4-3-3 formation in Denmark, emphasising deep build-up play with deep line midfielders and centre-backs. Norwich were bad defensively last season, conceded 64, the most out of any playoff team. But they were good attacking, and they need to keep hold of Sargent, Rowe and Sara, who got a combined 41 goals. Only 2 transfers so far, but both decent and both should help out with the defensive problems in Cordoba and Crescene. Then I've got 2 teams fighting for that 6th spot in West Brom, Sheffield United. I think it's tough. I think the thing that I've settled on that will make the difference is when you look, Corban's probably the best manager in the league against Wilder, whose football is like 3-year out-of-date milk and conceded 104 goals last season in the Premier League. But I think their business has been so good that will just edge them out. Obviously they do have the points deduction, but I think that they will have enough to get into the playoffs. But just quickly on West Brom, I think their tactics are great under Corberan, but of course he could be poached, which is another reason. As for transfers, their top scorer last season, Thomas Asante's gone. Some decent signings, but nothing really that crazy. And then Sheffield United, as I mentioned, a brilliant business. Harrison Burrows, really good, unless he's against Yengi. Callum O'Hare, 9 goal involvements in the Championship last season for Coventry. Kiefer Moore is a brilliant signing. They have lost some really good players though in Cameron Archer, Jaden Bogle, Traore and a bunch more. In 5th, I'm going to go with Middlesbrough. So rising up from 8th last season. I think Carragher's a good manager. I think he can get Middlesbrough back into the playoffs. They've got a great squad with some nice additions this season. Aidan Morris, I think, can really add something to that midfield. 6 goal involvements in 16 games in the MLS in 2024. Latte Lath got 16 goals last season. If he stays fit, I think he could be key and probably could win the Golden Boot. Then in 4th, I'm going to go with Coventry. I think if any team's going to challenge these 3, it will be Coventry, but I'm not sure they can do it. Last season, 9th place. And of course that great FA Cup run. Mark Robbins has done a brilliant job at Coventry. Haji Wright and Ellie Sims got 37 combined goal involvements last season, and some smart additions too with Jack Credoni, Thomas Asante, Louis Binks and a few more. So these 3, I'm just going to put them in here for now, and then I'll order them in a second. I mean, these could be in any order, probably most people's top 3, and I've really struggled to order these. I think I have settled just about on Burnley in 3rd, which I know Scott Parker always gets promoted, but he could do it through the playoffs, but I don't think he's going to get automatic promotion. Last season, obviously 19th in the Premier League under Company, that new style of play. And another plug, if you want to watch my video where I break down Scott Parker coming to Burnley, his tactics and more like that, again, watch that video. You'll have about 10 videos to watch after this. Make sure you watch all of them. You know, he is an expert in promotion, 2 promotions on his CV, but I don't think he'll do it automatically this season. I think on paper they have the best squad. Some great additions too. I mean, Mike Tressor, just to name one, but I don't quite think they have what it takes. So that top 2, who will win the league, who will come second? Close, but I think Leeds will just win it and Luton will finish in second. I mean, Luton last season were the best of the promoted sides, 18th in the Premier League. Kept Rob Edwards, which is really, really good. And he helped promote Luton in the 22-23 season through exploiting midfield space, counter-pressing and brilliant football. And I think he can do the same this season. Looking at the transfer window, it doesn't look great for Luton. They've lost Charles and Barkley, not many additions, but I have faith in Rob Edwards. So yeah, in first, boring. Leeds, I mean, last season they finished in third with 90 points. And in this weaker league, I think 90 points could potentially win you the league. They were so unlucky not to go up. Daniel Farke's such a good championship manager, and I think if he can continue where he left off, I mean, I know they didn't have the best end to the season, but, you know, continue with that project. Huge losses in Somerville and Gray. But it does give them a lot of money. Somerville did get 28 goals and assists last season, but I still think they can go up, and I still think they'll win the league because they've still kept the core of that squad. Rutter, Ampadu, etc. still at the club. Last season they had the 2nd best defence, 4th best attack in the season, and Farke has 3 seasons where he's got 90 or more points in the championship, and I think he's going to get another one this season and win the league. There you go. There is my championship predictions. So let me know what you think in the comments. Don't be mean, be nice, guys. But if you want to, if you have time, put all your 1 to 24 predictions. I'd love to get some discussion going in the comments. If not, just put your top 6 and your bottom 3. Because I mean, the mid-table's an absolute minefield. They could be in any order whatsoever. Not a clue. But yeah, at the end of the day, this is just for a bit of fun, so we can laugh at how stupid I am at the end of the season. If you did enjoy, please like the video and subscribe. I don't know how long I've been waffling for. 27 minutes on my recording. Gonna have to edit that down a bit. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Have a good one, everyone. Goodbye.